The sun was sinking behind the wide-open plains, painting the sky with streaks of gold and purple. Dust swirled lazily around the hooves of a lone horse as it carried a tired cowboy back toward town. His name was Daniel Kane, a man hardened by years of ranch work and lonely trails. A man who had long ago stopped expecting life to surprise him. But fate has a way of choosing the least likely moment to shake a man's soul. As Daniel rode past a stretch of tall, whispering grass near the creek, a sound broke the steady rhythm of hooves and wind. At first he thought it was the call of some small animal, a wounded coyote maybe, but then it came again, sharp, fragile, desperate. A cry. He pulled his horse to a stop, listening harder, the sound tugging at something deep inside him. Sliding off the saddle, he pushed through the grass, boots crunching against the dry earth, his heart beating faster with every step. And then he saw it, a baby, no more than a few months old, lying helpless in the grass, tiny fists flailing, cheeks streaked with tears. Its lips trembled with hunger, its cries breaking the stillness of the prairie. Daniel froze, the image cutting through him like a knife. Who could have left a child here? Why, for a long moment he just stared, overwhelmed by a wave of disbelief, anger and sorrow. The baby's wail grew louder, snapping him back to reality. With trembling hands he shrugged off his old, weather-beaten coat and wrapped it gently around the little one. The child quieted slightly, soothed by the sudden warmth, looking up at him with wide, pleading eyes that seemed to beg for more than food. They begged for safety, for love, for a chance to live. Daniel's throat tightened. He was a cowboy, not a father. He knew how to break a wild stallion, how to mend a fence, how to fight through storms. But this... Yet as he held the baby against his chest, something shifted in him, something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. "It's all right, little one," he whispered, though his voice cracked. "You're safe now." "I've got you." He climbed back onto his horse, clutching the bundle close, and turned toward town. Each hoofbeat echoed the pounding of his heart, a promise he had never thought he'd make, that no matter what it took, he would not abandon this child. He didn't yet know what tomorrow would bring, or how the people would react. But he knew one thing with unshakable certainty. This baby was no longer alone, and in that moment, neither was he. The ride into town felt longer than any Daniel had ever taken, though the distance was short. The baby whimpered against his chest, every soft cry sinking deeper into his soul, like a weight he couldn't shake. As he passed the dusty road leading into Red Creek, people turned their heads. Cowboys leaned off saloon rails. Women paused mid-step with baskets of bread. Children stopped playing in the dirt streets. Daniel Kane, the quiet drifter who rarely spoke more than a few words, now rode in with a bundled infant cradled in his arms. The whispers rose quickly, spreading like wildfire. "Where'd he get that baby? What's he doing with it? Lord help us, did he steal it?" The sheriff himself stepped out of his office, hat tilted, eyes narrowing in confusion. Daniel slid down from his horse slowly, careful not to jostle the child, and met the sheriff's gaze with steady eyes. "Found her," he said simply, his voice carrying a conviction no one could mistake. "Out in the grass by the creek, hungry, alone." The crowd shifted uneasily, some faces doubtful, others filled with quiet horror at the thought of an abandoned child. The town doctor, an older man with silver hair and gentle eyes, stepped forward. "Let me see her." Daniel hesitated for only a heartbeat before passing the bundle over, though his hands resisted letting go. The doctor examined the baby, nodding. "Weak from hunger, but strong enough to make it. She'll need milk, care, warmth." His eyes flicked back to Daniel. "She'll need someone to stay by her side." Daniel swallowed hard, the unspoken question ringing in everyone's ears. Who would take on such a burden? Families in Red Creek already struggled with their own, and orphans were often sent off on wagons to faraway missions, their futures swallowed by uncertainty. Daniel looked around at the faces watching. Him, faces he'd seen in passing but never really belonged to, and for the first time, he didn't care about belonging. He cared about the child in his arms, about the fragile heartbeat he could still feel against his chest. "I'll do it," he said, his voice rough but unshaken. "I'll see she grows. She won't be left alone again." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some were surprised, some skeptical. But the baby's tiny hand reached out then, clutching the rough fabric of Daniel's shirt as if choosing him herself. And in that moment, every doubt in his own heart melted away. Days turned into weeks, and Red Creek watched a transformation. The hardened cowboy who once rode the trails with nothing but a horse and a canteen now walked the streets with a baby girl, tucked safely in his arms. He bought milk from the general store, rocked her to sleep under the stars, sang broken lullabies in a voice unused to softness. People began to see him differently, not just as a drifter, but as a man who had found his calling in the most unexpected way. Evenings at the saloon turned into visits from townsfolk offering advice and sometimes just a smile.